The exception, not the rule. The vast majority, I mean, not almost all of the Bitcoin transactions are not to buy goods and services. They are people buying and selling Bitcoin to each other without any work being done, without any goods being purchased, right? It's just trading. That's all that's happening.
It's not necessarily true, right? So the stock. So I think we're getting off topic a little bit. I'm not arguing whether Bitcoin is money or not. We're really
you just said it was money.
Then we would be arguing about the definition of money, how we define that level. But the more important part is whether Bitcoin is valuable, right? So I think whether it has value. And that's the core definition. Well, that's the core debate. Whereas I think many people in this room obviously recognize Bitcoin has value. Bitcoin has, and the Bitcoin value, part of it is come from speculation on Binance, on other exchange, but a large part of it comes from the utility value of it. The fact that I can use it, I can transport it. I move to different countries all the time, right? So with this piece of gold, it's not easy for me to take it across different countries. Whereas it's a good store of value, which is true. But Bitcoin has risen in value, not just a store of value. It has actually gone up in value over the last 15 years.
Yeah. Well, first of all, tokenized gold solves that problem because you can take the tokenized gold with you. But
the tokenized gold, I have to trust a third party.
All right, well, just find a trusted third party. I mean,
which I could, but Bitcoin, I don't have to do that. That's utility.
Well, but then you have to trust something more. You have to trust that.
I trust the technology.
People still want Bitcoin. Yes. You mentioned that there's a.
So it's
there's 21 million Bitcoin.
It's very easy to trust people still.
Yeah. All right. So there's 2.1 quadrillion Satoshis, right? They're not that scarce when you express it that way. But there's a lot of Satoshis out there. But yes, there is some maximum quantity of Satoshis that are out there. But none of it matters if people don't want them. Look at the last few years, because Bitcoin today is 40%.
How many years have you been saying this, though?
Well, for a long time, right? But look, Bitcoin today is 40% lower priced in gold than it was 4 years ago.
Yeah.
So over the past 4 years, since Bitcoin peaked,
is that true?
Yes.
I'm not sure if that's true.
Yeah. When Bitcoin was 69,000 4 years ago, it bought 37.2 ounces of gold. Today, and I just checked before, it buys 22.15 ounces. So Bitcoin buys 40% fewer ounces of gold today than it did 4 years ago.
Gold did better than Bitcoin in the last 4 years.
4 years, a lot better.
How about 8 years?
No. But here, let me finish the point that I'm making. Right. Over the last 4 years, think about what's happened in Bitcoin. First of all, we had all of the Bitcoin ETFs that got launched that didn't exist to buy Bitcoin. We got all these companies, copycat from Strategy, but we also have Strategy that borrowed $40 billion to buy Bitcoin, or issued stock and debt to buy $40 billion. But we had other crypto companies buying Bitcoin. We had ads at the Super Bowl, we had celebrity endorsements, we had the NFT craze, we had El Salvador, we had the Bitcoin Strategic Reserve. We've had all of this money and hype and promotion, unprecedented. That's all anybody talks about. You go on financial news stations, every guest is talking about Bitcoin. Every commercial is Bitcoin or crypto. They're the biggest advertisers. They're the biggest donators to political campaigns.
So you're only talking about one failed exchange.
Right, but the price has gone down during all of this, with all of this promotion, all of this hype. It's gone down. And if Bitcoin has not been able to go up in 4 years, if it's lost 40% of its value in real terms, despite all of this, why would it go up in the future? It seems to me that
4 years ago
it's
much
over.
Lower value, though.
Huh?
Bitcoin 4 years ago was much lower value, just because.
No, it's down. It's down 40% in gold.
Comparing to gold.
But if you're saying it's digital gold, then that's the best way to price it.
Well, no. If you compare two assets, you can pick any random time period. One asset will.
Well, I'm not random. I'm just picking the high from 4 years ago. But my point is, you had all of this hype. Why isn't Bitcoin? Look, you have Michael Saylor is coming out here. Bitcoin's going to be $10 million a Bitcoin. All right. Well, why isn't it there now? Why? I mean, if it's really that valuable, the market would adjust the price now. You can't just buy it. I mean, he acts like you just buy Bitcoin and you're guaranteed to make all this money. It's a sure thing. Go out, mortgage your house, bet the farm, borrow against your business, put everything you have, because he says it's a sure thing. Well, if it was a sure thing, the price would already be there.
Well, the price takes time to be there. Like even if you say like gold will be worth more later, doesn't mean that it will be worth.
No, I just think the dollar will be worth less. The euro will be worth less. At the end, they keep printing them.
We agree on all of that.
Right, yeah. But it does. But Bitcoin is irrelevant for that. Bitcoin's value is determined solely by the number of people who want to buy it versus the people who want to sell it, because there's no user for it. Like
So
like with gold, there is real demand. There are people who need to buy gold and will always buy gold. And if the price of gold goes down, they're going to buy more. If it goes, but in Bitcoin, nobody needs it, but people want it. But they want it because they think the price is going to go up. But the minute they stop believing the price is going to go up, then there's no reason to have it.
Let's talk about the future a little bit more. The future generation, the younger kids.
Yes.
Do you think they will like Bitcoin more or gold more?
Well, they're going to like gold more because their friends will have lost a lot of money in Bitcoin. You know, and there's one really good thing about young people.
How about your son?
But he's already sold his. But you know, the good thing about losing a lot of money in Bitcoin when you're young, and is that when you're young and you lose your money, you have a whole lifetime to earn it back, and you have a lifetime to benefit from the experience of losing that money. So the good news for all the young people that are going to get wiped out in Bitcoin is that it will prevent you from losing more money in the future, right? Because when you're young, you don't have a lot of money to lose. But as you get older and you accumulate more, that's when it's more important not to lose your money. So this is a valuable lesson.
So Bitcoin went from no value in 2010
yes.
to 50 cents for the first Pizza transaction to now 100,000, well, 90,000 right now.
Yeah.
You know, how many people lost money on Bitcoin? How many people made money on Bitcoin?
Well, how many of the people who have their hands up have actually sold their Bitcoin and realized those gains?
A few.
You know, not that many. But look,
again, this is a different crowd, right? Obviously. Yeah,
but there's no disputing that the people who bought Bitcoin back then have made a tremendous amount of money. I mean, I know a lot of these people who have made hundreds of millions, billions.
So you know them?
Yes, a lot of them are my neighbors, you know, but the reason they can afford to live in my neighborhood is because they sold a lot of Bitcoin. That's how come they can afford it. But the money that they made.
A lot of people made a lot of money on Bitcoin that you know.
Yes, they got in early.
Okay.
The people who bought it over the last couple of years haven't made any money. These are the people who are losing the money that enabled the early buyers to make money. The people who are making money are cashing out. All Bitcoin does is enable a transfer of wealth from the people who buy Bitcoin to the people who sell it, right? When Bitcoin is created, there's no real wealth. We have like 20 million Bitcoin now that we didn't have 15 years ago. We're no better off because those Bitcoin exist. They don't actually do anything. But what has happened is some people have been enriched at the expense of other people. Now, the people who have lost a lot of money in Bitcoin don't even realize they've lost it yet because they still have the Bitcoin, and the Bitcoin still has a $93,000 price or whatever it is right now. And so they don't realize they've lost the money. But if they try to get out, that's when they're going to realize it's lost. Because if a large percentage of people who own Bitcoin want to get out of it, there is no market for it. The market will implode.
Let me share a quick story I shared earlier today. When I was going through the U.S. troubles, I got a letter of support, right? So one of our users from Africa writes me, and he says, before Bitcoin, it takes him 3 days to pay a bill. He had to walk from his village to a place, pay it, and walk back. So 3 days a month, he had to pay the bill. That's the amount of time it takes for him to do that. After Binance, he has access to crypto. And now paying the bill is 3 minutes. And because of that, he accumulated over time $50, $100, $300, $1,000. $1,000 in some really poor country in Africa is a lot of money for that.
Yeah.
So that improves people's life.
Yes.
Materially improved his life.
Yeah, I
So
mean that there is some value there, but you don't need Bitcoin
the
for that.
traditional-
You can use a stable coin, you can use
But you
tokenized
still need
gold, you can do
blockchain.
any, you know.
So yeah, you can use a stable coin, but you still need to use the blockchain technology. And the best use case for blockchain technology today, the best app is still Bitcoin, right? So Bitcoin is the largest market cap coin. And but you're talking about the blockchain technology. The technology is promoted with Bitcoin plus other cryptocurrencies. You mentioned a point earlier, which I want to touch upon. Just because anyone can issue a token doesn't mean those tokens have value. But Bitcoin is very different. Bitcoin is we already have a large community supporting it. Some of the major cryptocurrencies, of course, I'm biased, are also closer to that category. Right? So just because you issue something does not create value. But when people use it, it has value.
Well, again,
so Bitcoin is used by this guy in Africa, in many other places. So and the use case is increasing. It's not decreasing. This is not. It's not just one thing that doesn't change anymore. Yeah. It's a technology that keeps evolving.
I don't see. In fact, I remember when Bitcoin first spiked up to $1,000 in was it 20?
And you were against it.
Of course, yes. But, although at the time, at the time I thought the price could go up. I just thought that it was obviously people were buying it, and I thought that the bubble could get bigger before it popped. But fundamentally, nothing has changed about Bitcoin. But the point I'm making is back then, I remember a lot of stores. There were a lot of stories where all these companies were coming out, oh, we accept Bitcoin, we accept Bitcoin, we accept Bitcoin. And the reason that the stores were doing this is because all of a sudden people with Bitcoin had money, because now the Bitcoin was worth something. And so merchants were trying to appeal to the wealth of the crypto people by saying, hey, you can spend your Bitcoin here, you can spend your Bitcoin here. There's actually less of that now. I mean, I think the whole idea of using Bitcoin as a currency, it's even less popular now than it was back then. And in fact, people have even acknowledged that, it doesn't work very well as a currency. There are other cryptos that are much better. That's when they reinvented it as digital gold, because it didn't work as a digital currency. So they said, okay, well, it's digital gold. Oh. Well, it's not digital gold either, because it's nothing like gold, right? It's not, I can't, make a picture of a hamburger and then say I have digital food. It's just an image of a hamburger, and if you eat a diet of digital food, you're going to starve to death.
Let me check in the crowd. Who has a Binance card on them? I don't have one with me. Can you volunteer it? Just the
you
Binance
have a
card.
Token, right? BNB is a token.
No. The Binance card.
But Binance is a token
which is
right?
a Visa card. Yeah. If you could, can somebody help bring that? So when you mentioned that crypto is not used for payments, and you see it much less, I actually want to show you something, which is yeah, thank you. Sure, yeah. You see, you see this thing?
Okay, yeah. Well, basically what you're saying is you can use this, and it will sell your Bitcoin and pay a merchant in dollars.
Absolutely. It works really well, yeah. And
that's exactly what I'm going to do with gold, right? But
using the blockchain, right?
It doesn't even need to use the blockchain when I'm using a debit card or a debit card. But
my point is,
what you're doing is you're selling your Bitcoin and then you're paying with currency. Just like I have a brokerage account, and I can issue you a debit card against your brokerage account, and now you could use that. But you're not using Bitcoin as money. You're selling Bitcoin to get money, and then you're using the money to buy goods and services, not the Bitcoin. That card just ties you in. But what I want to do with gold, I don't want people ultimately to sell their gold and pay cash. I'd like to see the gold actually change hands from buyer to seller so that the entire transaction stays in gold the whole time. We don't need to convert the gold into fiat. But you're converting your Bitcoin to fiat in order to use it.
How many people use gold as payment today?
Well, probably hardly anybody uses it as payment.
More or less than this.
But you're not using Bitcoin there either. The Bitcoin gets sold. If you use that card, whoever is on the receiving end of the transaction does not get any of your Bitcoin. All they get is dollars.
Yeah. So it's actually two halves. So we're breaking this process into two halves, right? So Bitcoin payments, crypto payments has historically had this problem where the merchants don't want to accept crypto or may or may not want to accept it. Without the merchants accepting it, then the users couldn't pay. But this solves it because we are now, as intermediaries, from the user perspective, he just swipes his card and crypto gets deducted. He doesn't care about the conversion into cryptocurrencies and pay it. The merchant gets fiat currencies, right, or whatever they choose to get. And we, in the middle, handle the conversion. So we solve both sides of the problem.
Yeah, but I want to do that same thing with gold. But the thing is this. I think eventually, when inflation is a lot more pernicious in the developed world, I believe a lot of merchants will actually prefer to receive gold. Because I think
that... Are you sure about that?
Yes, because what's going to happen is...
How many of them accept it today?
They don't have the ability to accept it. They don't even... It's not even an option. But let's say you're a merchant, right? And inflation is not... 2% a year. Let me finish the point.
I get the benefit.
Let's say inflation is 2% a week, right? And so I have inventory that I'm selling, but I sell my inventory, and now when I have to rebuy it, it costs a lot more because between the time I sold it and the time I restock, the prices have gone up. But if I can sell my merchandise and get paid in gold, now I can use my gold to restock, and the prices wouldn't have gone up in terms of gold.
The gold price dropped in the last couple of weeks, right? I mean, it went to a high, but then it dropped in the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, there are periods of time where gold volatility spikes a bit. But generally, it's not that volatile.
At 10% for some merchants, like some merchants' margins at 10%. Right?
Oh yeah, I know, and Bitcoin can move 10% in a day.
But my point is, there's a few million of these cards out there. There's a few million users using Binance Card.
Yeah, and maybe I could use you to do my gold cards.
We'd be happy to.
Because I'm talking to banks, I got to see who would be the best issuer of the card.
For Bitcoin, I'm not against gold. But I'm just saying that Bitcoin is a better version of gold. But my point is, you said that people don't use it for payments, but people use it silently.
Right, but that's not using it for payments. That's...
But from the user perspective, they are using it for payments. Now the user doesn't have to worry about selling Bitcoin into cash, converting to currency, and then charging the...
Right, but I can do that same thing, again, with gold or anything else. I can do it with my stock portfolio. I mean, I have... customers that have brokerage accounts, and I can give them a debit card where every time they use it, it margins their brokerage account.
But that's great.
And then we can sell some of their stocks.
That's great. But my point is, people are already using crypto for payments.
No, they're not using crypto. They're using crypto as collateral so that they can sell it to get the currency that they use to make the payment. There's a difference there. It's not being used to make a payment. You're liquidating your Bitcoin, and then you're buying something with the proceeds.
Again, Peter, you're making the definition that for the user for payments, that includes the part that we handle for them.
Yes.
Right? From the user perspective, he swipes the card, he gets the good.
I understand.
His gets deducted,
yes.
Right. So,
but there is a difference there. But of course, Bitcoin can collapse in price, and now it's going to be a big problem for people who are planning on buying stuff with their Bitcoin, and now the Bitcoin doesn't buy very much because when they go to sell it, they're not going to get that much fiat.
I think most people in this room will not have that problem because they pretty much all have enough crypto they have enough crypto.
Well, they have enough at $93,000. I mean, what if it's $9,000? I mean, the price could be a lot lower. You don't know what it's going to be.
I mean, all prices fluctuate. Also, even if we talk about fiat currencies, the price fluctuates. Right. So
against each other. Right. They don't. There's
against each other, against real purchasing power. Yeah. Right. So against purchasing power, every price fluctuates. So one thing is, many people think about stable. I think stablecoin is a complete misnomer. There's nothing stable in this world. Everything fluctuates against it.
Well, it's stable against itself. So a dollar stable coin is stable against the dollar. But the dollar has no stability whatsoever. But that's why, to me, everything that you could do with Bitcoin, I could do with gold. And so rather than have a token backed by nothing, why not have a token backed by something? Why prefer a fiat cryptocurrency when you can have a real one, when you can have one that's backed by gold?
It's actually the reverse. Whatever you can do with the gold and fiat, we can do in Bitcoin.
No, you can't, because you can't store value with Bitcoin.
Bitcoin has been a tremendous store of value.
No, it hasn't. It's been a great speculative asset that is appreciated. Bitcoin's price has gone up.
For the last 15 years, for its entire existence.
Right, but first of all, that's not a lot of time in the scheme of things. But Bitcoin has price. I don't dispute that there is a price for Bitcoin. but price and value are two completely different things.
We agree
And
on
you
that,
cannot
yeah.
you cannot store a price. Bitcoin has a price today. I don't know what the price is going to be tomorrow, but it has no value today, and it's going to have no value tomorrow. But that doesn't stop people from buying it. But the value that most people place in Bitcoin is that they think they're going to get rich if they buy it. They think if I buy this Bitcoin and I just hold on to it and ride out all the volatility, I'm going to be rich. So that's what people are buying. They're buying that lottery ticket that's going to pay off. And when people don't want to buy that anymore, when people stop believing in this fantasy that Bitcoin is going to the moon, then there's not going to be any demand for it anymore.
You're looking at that purely from a speculator's perspective.
Well, that's who buys Bitcoin, by and large. Now, look, most of the people in this room maybe are diehard Bitcoin maxis that actually believe all this nonsense, fine. But the vast majority of people buying, who do you think is buying Bitcoin
How many
ETFs?
people in the audience are developing something in the Bitcoin ecosystem? Developers, coders, project. Not a lot, but there's quite a few developers here, right? So not everybody's a speculator. So speculators, yes.
No, this room, this is a biased sample.
Of course,
I mean,
yeah.
if
But
you
it
look,
exists.
right? Yes, but this is a tiny part of what's driving Bitcoin at this point. If you look at who is buying the Bitcoin ETFs, right, that have been the lion's share of the buying before these corporate treasury companies, these are not, true believers. They are just buying it because it's going up. They're seeing all the hype, and they're being told, you got to buy this. It's the digital. It's going to go up. It's the new thing. And so people are buying it in their stock portfolios. They don't care about any of the qualities that you talk about that Bitcoin has. They don't care about any of that. They don't self-custody it. They're buying it in their brokerage account. It's a symbol, and they're looking at it to go up. And when it stops going up and it starts going down, they're just going to sell. They're just going to move on and take their chips and put them in someplace else.
Peter, what you described exists in stock markets, in traditional fiat markets as well. So there's speculators in every market, and then there's builders who are building the ecosystem, who are building utility value. The speculators are always loud. That's why NASDAQ exists, right? So all the guys who are buying Bitcoin ETFs, they already bought stocks. They already have stock ETFs, currency ETFs, etc. So that exists in traditional markets as well.
Yeah, look.
Just having them doesn't mean that Bitcoin has no value.
No, well,
right?
yes, just because there's speculators in the stock market, too, doesn't mean that legitimizes Bitcoin because they're speculators. Look, when you're speculating...
It's reversed. Just having speculators does not delegitimize
But
Bitcoin.
when I'm speculating on a stock, at least in theory, I'm speculating on a business, and I'm making a bet that business becomes more valuable in the future than it is today because it has more sales, it has more earnings, it pays a higher dividend. So I'm betting on the growth of a business.
Just look at this company. Go Binance.
Right. Well, sure. Well, Binance is not big. Binance is a great business right now, right? You're the casino. The house wins, right?
No, we're not
gambling.
We are a licensed we are a licensed financial institution in 30-something countries now.
All right. Well, okay. Apart from that, but I'm talking about the people that are just trading Bitcoin on the platform. But I just forgot what I was talking about before you interrupted. What was the point that I was about to make? I just don't even remember.
We were talking about speculators.
Oh, yeah, right. So you're speculating on a company becoming more valuable. When I buy Bitcoin is not going to generate more income in the future than it does now because it generates no income now. Bitcoin is not an income-producing asset. When I'm speculating on Bitcoin, all I'm doing is betting that somebody in the future is going to pay a higher price than I did. I'm just betting that there's going to be more demand for Bitcoin in the future than there is now, and that the price is going to be higher. So it's a pure speculation on price without any other factor. And so Bitcoin is far more speculative in nature than what people are doing in the stock market or in the real estate market. Now, most people, when you're buying a stock, I'm buying a business now that generates income that pays dividends. Not all stocks are simply, gambling on the growth of a business that may or may not come. But Bitcoin is
But we just established that the speculators are only a small part of the ecosystem. Even though they're very loud, they trade a lot. But we just discussed this point, right?
But that's what's driving
the
Bitcoin
we
price.
You're saying that this small section of speculators represent all of crypto, all of Bitcoin. That's not true, right?
Well, that's what drove the price up to 90,000. Without all those, where do you think Bitcoin's price would be right now if all this speculative money hadn't poured in, to all these ETFs and all these Bitcoin treasury companies
Peter,
that have been buying up Bitcoin? Without all that speculative money, where do you think the price would be?
I don't think I can convince you on this. But again, you are taking a small sample of the
It's
population.
not small.
Small or big, but you're taking a portion of it and sort of overgeneralizing that to the entire industry. If it's only speculators, the price wouldn't be there. There will always be some fundamental holders that support the price.
Well, it's mostly, I would say, over those past 4 years, right, where Bitcoin is down by 40% against gold, I would say that at least half of the people who own Bitcoin today bought it over the last 4 years.
I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm not too sure.
And probably more than half the value, half the market cap was purchased in these last 4 years.
Well, every peak, the more value gets purchased at the later stage. But
people are, so,
all right. So I think we can agree to disagree on that note. I do hope Gold to be successful. I do hope your digitized Gold to be successful.
Well, maybe we could work together on that project.
Absolutely.
For that, and I want to get my token listed traded on Binance.
Absolutely. So we welcome you to the blockchain digital world, and I, of course, believe completely differently that I think gold will do well, but I think Bitcoin will do even better. That's my view. But
I don't think it will be able to compete with gold, especially when it's
we'll find out next year.
Yeah. Well.
But lastly, thank you, Peter, for coming over, and I wish you all the success in digitizing gold.
All right. Well, my pleasure. All right. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yeah. Thank you, guys.